Hi, and welcome to another episode of Whythatcar. Today we've got Paul in his 2007 VE SSV HSVi Dark Devil. So tell us, Paul, why that car?
Oh, there's a lot to know about it. It's a big story behind it. So I originally purchased it in 2016. It was a stranded street car with a little bit of modifications. And then in 2018, we decided to give it a makeover and a bit of a facelift. So we added the airbags, gave it the cherry black paint job, a few custom bits and pieces. It already had the HSVi interior in it, and the engine modifications have been done from when I purchased the car. Then in 2020, at the start of 2020, I actually had it out going to a club member's son's funeral. They asked me to bring the car out for the funeral procession, which I did, and on the way there I actually crashed it. I blew both driver's side tyres out on the Western Highway just outside of Gordon, about in the wet about 100 k's per hour. It took me into the guardrail, so this whole side was opened up like a tin can against the wire barrier. So I got in contact afterwards with the original painter of the car, saying we can fix it up. He'd moved to Tasmania, unfortunately, and this was at the end of January 2020, and by the time we got everything organised and he was scheduled to fly out and come do it, Tasmania locked their borders for COVID.
Right.
So then we went to a plan B.
Right, and I'm guessing this is possibly plan B.
Yes.
So what was plan B? Tell us.
So we sent it up to Shepparton to another friend, Nathan Adams, at Cuts Custom, and originally he was just going to repair the side. Sat there for a little bit, and then he decided that it'd be better just to freshen it up. So we're just going to rub it back and respray it the same colour it was. And then Easter hit and it was still sitting there, and then he approached me with going a bit wild with it.
Bit wild is possibly a slight understatement. So before we started filming, we've had a bit of a walk around, a bit of a chat ourselves, and the colour. Let's start off with that. Like, it's very eye-catching. It stands out in the crowd. What's the go with the colour?
Yeah, so
Explain to us.
Yeah, so Nathan was the one that gave us the idea to go a colour shift. He'd had a car in there many years ago that he had prepped to do a colour shift in. Things went down with the owners. They came and picked the car up and primed, and he never got the chance. So he asked if we'd be interested in doing it. And yeah, we agreed to do it. Then we started looking at some companies. We went to DNA. We wanted to keep it Australian companies, not go the easy, let's go House of Colour.
Yeah, of course.
But, so we looked at DNA, but we didn't want an off-the-shelf colour shift. We wanted a custom one. Unfortunately, they couldn't do it for us. So then we approached Hammer Coating, and Robbie and Tiff, the owners at Hammer, hadn't done it before, but decided that they would take on the challenge. He made this custom exclusive colour for us, and I think it was about 3 or 4 different spray outs of different colours before we agreed on if it had the right amount of the colour shifts, because my wife had a lot of input on it as well. We didn't want too much of the rose gold, didn't want too much of gold, didn't want a few. But yeah, Robbie sprayed this colour out onto a speed shape, and we agreed on it, and didn't know how it was going to look on the car, because obviously a speed shape to a whole car is a totally different.
Yeah, a few different angles on it.
Yeah, but no, we were very impressed, and yeah, Nathan, first time working with Hammer Paint, first time doing a colour shift, found that Hammer Paint was incredibly great to work with, and a very solid product to put down.
So how do you go washing it? How long does it usually take?
It's not too bad. Most of the car's been ceramic coated.
Right.
So yeah, Shane at Diamond Cut Detailing, he did the initial paint correction on it and coating. That coating was done for Salmonats a couple of years ago. Been holding up really good. just for accessibility, change over in Cranbourne. If I need a quick detail on that, it usually actually comes up the road here to Andrew Aegis at Outrageous.
Yep. Yes.
He prepped it for the lead haul at Colac, and but I usually just get a decontamination done every so often from a detailer, and then it makes washing it really easy. It's snow foam.
Yep.
Wipe down, make sure you don't leave any water beads. Even with the ceramic coating, you still can get hard watermarks on it. So do that, and then a blow dry if need be.
2020, middle of COVID, car's getting painted. What other plans did you have in mind at that time to do to the car, other than just freshen up of paint?
Well, because we'd sent it up to Shepparton stripped to be repaired and painted, because yes, Nathan had to new guard, second-hand doors, and about 30 hours on that rear quarter to smoothen it out, because being the petrol filler side, it was easier to do that than we'd strip the inside of it. So before it went up, dash, interior and all that was taken out. I had it sitting there. I was just going to clean it up a little bit. I vinyl dyed the plastics and all that to freshen them up, and then B&B, now B&B Auto House, did the boy sale for 20 VE Commodores. Did an absolute ridiculous price on interior. So we shipped the interior off down to B&B at Carrum Downs, and he worked on it when he could once, because not being a repair or maintenance business, once he could get back up running, he
went to the interior.
Went to the interior. Once we were able to visit them, we actually went through the design process with them, and then many months later, I think it was about 3 months later, the interior was built.
Personalised plates on the car. Read.
So Dark Devil. So originally, when it was the cherry black, because it went from that black to cherry, the car was dark, and because of how it sounds and its stance with the airbag and all that, it was devilish, so we just went Dark Devil. Name. And that was then another challenge that we gave Hammer with the colour, because a lot of colour shifts are very vibrant and bright. We wanted it to remain dark, but still have all that colour and really pop.
Challenges along the way, other than obviously good old COVID, what were some of the challenges you and the team faced? There was
many challenges along the way, especially during COVID, because of one, car was up in Shepparton, we couldn't travel into regional, so that made it very hard. It was videos, phone calls, pictures, that was it, not being able to physically see the car. It wasn't until we dropped it off around Easter 2020, and it wasn't until October in 2020 that I was able to get up and see what had been going on with it. Same with the interior, a lot of pushbacks, materials, delays on that, plus other things that were happening in the car were coming away from the States. Mats and all that were done in WA and sent down. The actual roof lining was done by a separate interior company, and that was done 2 days before, or the night before, sorry. It was getting unveiled up in Bathurst for Autofest. A guy came down from Penrith and done that. There was just, a lot of challenges. Obviously what we had in mind and what we thought it would look like, not being actually having that conversation down there, pointing it out, made it very hard to work with the companies, but they did really well, and it came out to what we wanted.
I was going to say, so happy with the final results?
Yes, and especially for the challenge that we had, it's very pleasing, and we're very humbled by the amount of work that's gone from the companies, and can't thank them enough for the work they did over the time.
I like the pattern on the seats too.
Yeah, and it's been what they call quilted, so it's actually, if you run your hand over it, it is raised up.
So it's not just like flat, it's...
So they've had the skin, they've put padding in behind it, then they've put a backing on it, like a material backing, then they've stitched it, then they've put it onto my cushions.
How long has it taken to get it to where she is now?
So the bulk of it, everything was done within over 14 months to have it ready for unveiling, but then there was a few bits and pieces that happened afterwards. We've had other companies come on board where we've put the vinyl etching on the outside. A mate of mine actually just for Showcase Melbourne at the start of the year resprayed the rims. Adam's a concreter by trade, and he's been spraying a few things. He has his own a beautiful show car as well. He has a purple HQ, so he'd been playing around with paint, and he sprayed the rims for us. Then things like brake calipers. One of the actual employees at Hammer approached us that she's a spray painter, because I was just going to hit him with a pressure pack can of white paint, and it's like, no, we can't do that with everything else that's being done with the car. So calipers came off. She took them and sprayed it with a 3-layer white pearl. Then just little bits and pieces like the wheel studs and that have just been over time. We've changed out stuff. There is another set of rims for the car. We have some 22s. That's not great to drive on. Yeah, probably from March 2021 when it was unveiled to now, there's just been little bits and pieces. We've added a few things in the engine bay. Gricey's workshop up in Albury, through Zoo Performance, organised all the braided hoses, cut them, gave us the fittings, and that was bought because obviously up in Albury I wasn't going to ship the car up there, so down Jason Jarvis down here at NJ's Automotives, he done all the braided hoses, and then I've just had, like just recently, customised my ride, just done that front engine plate to cover around the lights and that. So it's ongoing. So it does need to stop because we do have another car to build.
Under the bonnet, what have we got? What's sitting under there?
So it's the factory L98 with a 6.7 litre 408 stroker kit put through it with a forged bottom end. Can't remember the cam specs on it.
All right.
It was a custom grime on the cam that was in it. It's not that big of a cam, but obviously with the stroker kit that's producing the power. We did have it at some point on flexi fuel, so we were running the E85 98, which came out in the Series 3 VE SSV, but we've pulled that off it and just runs straight 98.
We left the actual engine bay black, just the contrast, because we did paint the underside of this. It's bouncing nicely off this and giving you a bit of a reflection at the moment, but generally the colour gets a little bit lost in the underside of the bonnet, but we did paint the whole bonnet. But we left the engine in and just did the blowing around, left the black there, just give it a little bit of contrast, because that is the original colour that's on there. That hasn't been resprayed or anything. That's still factory colour on that.
That underside of the bonnet, that's not standard.
That's factory.
That's factory.
Normally you see your marks here. That's normally where you have your clips for your sound deadener. Because of this. The sound deadener was always rubbing on it. So I took it off and paint. Plus you notice most of the time when you pull the sound deadener off here, because they're machine sprayed and all that, there's usually it's like it radiuses out, and it'll be still in primer and then colour come out. Where Nathan's got in and got in and got underneath and everything and hit it.
It actually gives it a really cool effect. Like, I really wouldn't have thought that was a factory.
Yeah, that's actually factory.
So you've had the car since 2016?
Yes.
How did you get into the whole car scene, car show?
I've actually grown up in Sunbury. My father had an XY Falcon 500 many years ago. I was just there, always Street Machine magazine, Hot Fours magazine. Like, I grew up reading about people like Gary Myers with GM 176, which is now Sicko. Through this car, when it was unveiled, I was actually lucky enough to be in a garage with his son, Jake Myers. So I've always been into cars. I always played around with cars. Didn't actually go down a path with a job with cars. My very first car was an 84 Nissan Bluebird, which was actually my parents' car. I got off them, started modifying that, just some cosmetic stuff, big stereo, then I crashed that one, being a P-plater. got another Bluebird to fix bits and pieces in it. Then ended up buying my old boss from when I worked at Big W Summary's Bluebird, and then did a lot with that. Did too much with that, performance and driveline wise, and I actually made the car a write-off because the suspension had pulled away from the body, the trail arms, because it was too low and too much powerful. We put a Pintara TRX turbo engine in that, and it was just, yeah.
Snowball effect.
That snowballed. And then I always had Fords because it was my father. As I got older, had an EL XR6, then had a BA XR6 turbo. Then in 2013, when I was going to work, I had an AU XR6. Actually had another car accident. A car had pulled over onto the shoulder of the road, and while the car was turning, I had a quarry truck in front of me. He started to jackknife, so I went off to the side of the road, and what I thought was actually a smooth bit of grassed area. It was actually an overgrown creek bed. So the car flipped. That landed me in a neck brace for 13 weeks.
Right, so.
And then
fairly serious accident.
Obviously rode that car off. Then I still had the BA XR6 turbo, but couldn't drive it because of how the seats were on my neck. So then looked at trading it in. Was looking at an FG. I wanted a V8 because I hadn't had a V8. Found this one.
Along she came.
And found out there was a HSVi, so that it had HSV factory upgrades done to it. And traded in the BA and put a deposit down. Beautiful.
Any car that you've owned that you regret selling from your past?
Well, I wish I actually had the Nissan Bluebird now, because they use them as drift cars and they're worth a fair bit. They were a great setup. I also had an 84 Celica that we put a super turboed engine into it. Could have wished to still have that, but it's hindsight. And that's why I haven't sold this one. I don't think I'd ever sell it. I had it on display, not in this colour, the old colour, at the Grand Prix a few years ago. Someone offered some serious cash on the day, and I turned it down. I don't think I do want to part ways with it, especially with how Holdens are going up in price and with what's being done to it.
Of course.
Plus, I don't think I could see someone else driving it in case something happened to it. I'd rather actually hold on to it and give it to one of my kids when they grow up.
If you had a blank check and you could go buy a car tomorrow morning, what car would it be?
That's a good question. If we get our hands on it, probably an XY GT HO Phase 3.
Any colour in particular?
The purple was nice.
But
I know that the mustard was very rare, and that was actually the colour of my dad's Falcon 500.
Right.
Was the mustard. It was a hideous colour, but it was very rare. But yeah.
Well, Paul, thank you very much for joining us on Whythatcar. Thanks for watching another episode of Whythatcar. Make sure to like and subscribe on our socials. See you next time.